The deep space ship Virex. 9 moved slowly through the dark silence of space. There were no stars nearby, no light, only endless black. Inside the ship, everything was calm and controlled. Soft blue lights glowed along the walls, and quiet sounds of machines filled the air. Commander Ralvek stood at the front of the command room. He was tall, with sharp features and cold, focused eyes. He had explored many planets before. Weak planets, peaceful planets, easy planets. But today felt different. "Commander," said a crew officer, her voice low and unsure. "We are approaching the target planet." Ralvek did not turn. "Show me." A large screen lit up in front of him. At first, it was just a small blue dot. Then slowly it grew bigger. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds moving across the surface. The planet looked beautiful. Too beautiful. Ralvek narrowed his eyes. Run full scan. The ship's AI began its work. Lines of data started to move across smaller screens. Numbers, symbols, signals. Then, a sudden pause. The officer frowned. "Commander, the data is not clear." Ralvek finally turned. "Not clear." "Yes, sir. The readings are strange." "Explain." The officer took a breath. "The gravity is higher than normal in some areas. The atmosphere is rich in oxygen. Very rich." Ralvek said nothing. Another crew member spoke up. "Sir, high oxygen usually means high life activity." "Yes," said the officer, "but also high danger." The room grew quiet. Ralvek looked back at the planet. Continue the scan. More data came in. Then, another pause. "Commander," the officer said slowly, "we are detecting energy spikes on the surface." "What kind of energy?" Ralvek asked. The officer hesitated. "Weapon energy." The room went still. Ralvek's eyes sharpened. "Are they under attack?" "I don't know, sir." "Zoom in." The screen changed. The view moved closer to the planet's surface. A large land area appeared. Cities, massive cities, tall buildings, bright lights, movement everywhere. Millions of life forms. "They are advanced," someone whispered. Ralvek studied the screen. "But not united." "Sir," before he could answer, "warning alert." A loud sound filled the ship. Red lights flashed across the room. "Report." Ralvek shouted. "Multiple explosions detected on the surface," the officer said quickly. "Show me." The screen zoomed again. And then, boom, a bright flash of light. A massive explosion in the middle of the city. Fire rose into the sky. Smoke spread fast. The shock wave moved through buildings, breaking glass, shaking the ground. The crew froze. No one spoke. Then, another explosion. Far away. Then another. Different places. Same destruction. Ralvek stepped forward slowly. "What is happening?" The AI answered in a calm voice. "No external threat detected." Ralvek frowned. "What does that mean?" The AI continued. "The source of the attacks is internal." Silence. One of the crew members spoke in a low voice. "You mean they are doing this to themselves?" No one wanted to believe it. Ralvek stared at the burning cities. Scanned for enemy ships. The AI responded immediately. "No alien ships detected." "Unknown species?" "No." "Natural disaster?" "Negative." Ralvek felt something cold move through his mind. "Then who is causing destruction?" The AI paused, then said, "The dominant species of this planet." The room went completely silent. "They are attacking their own world?" the officer asked. Ralvek did not answer. He kept watching. On the screen, small moving objects appeared in the sky. Fast, loud, machines. "They have flight technology," a crew member said. "Yes," another added. "And weapons." The machines fired again. More explosions. More fire. More chaos. But then something else appeared. Small figures. Running. Helping each other. Carrying the injured. Trying to survive. "They are not all fighting," the officer said. "No," Ralvek said quietly. "Some are trying to live." He crossed his arms. "This is not a simple world." The ship moved closer into orbit. Now the planet filled the entire screen. Beautiful from far away, terrifying up close. The AI spoke again. Additional data. The species calls itself human. Ralvek repeated the word slowly. Human. Another explosion lit up the surface. He watched carefully. His voice became low, cold, confused. What kind of species destroys its own home and still survives? No one answered. Because no one knew, Ralvek stepped closer to the screen. His reflection mixed with the image of the planet. Fire and clouds, life and death, beauty and chaos, all in one place. He took a slow breath, and then said the words that no one in the room would forget. What the hell kind of planet is this? The question stayed in the air, heavy, unanswered, and far below, Earth continued to burn. The ship Virex 9 stayed in orbit above the blue planet. Inside the command room, no one spoke for a long time. Everyone was still thinking about what they had just seen. Fire on the surface, explosions, and yet life continued. Commander Ralvek stood still, watching the planet slowly turn. The bright side moved into darkness, and the dark side came into light. But the chaos did not stop. Commander, the AI said, breaking the silence. New data is ready. Ralvek nodded. Show it. Multiple screens lit up at once. Numbers, maps, signals. The officer began to speak, her voice more serious now. We have scanned different regions of the planet. The activity is not in one place. Ralvek looked at her, meaning it is everywhere. A quiet fear spread across the room. They fight in many places at the same time, another crew member added. Different groups, different reasons. Ralvek crossed his arms. So they're divided. Yes, the officer said, but still active, still growing. Ralvek looked back at Earth. Strange. He had seen divided species before. Most of them destroyed themselves quickly. But this one was still alive. Send a probe, he said. The crew looked at him. A surface probe? The officer asked. Yes, I want to see them closely. The order was clear. Within minutes, a small black probe launched from the ship. It moved fast, silent, and unseen. It entered the planet's atmosphere, burning slightly as it passed through clouds. Inside the ship, everyone watched. The screen changed to the probe's view. Clouds passed. Then land appeared. A large city. Tall buildings made of glass and metal. Roads filled with moving vehicles. Lights everywhere. They are more advanced than we thought, one crew member said. Not advanced enough, another replied. They still destroy themselves. The probe moved lower. Now the sounds came through. Noise, voices, machines. The world was alive. People, humans, walked on the streets. They talked, they laughed, they moved fast. It looked normal, peaceful. But then, a loud siren filled the air. The mood changed instantly. People started running. What is happening? A crew member asked. The probe turned toward the sound. In the distance, smoke, dark and rising. Then, boom, another explosion. Closer this time. The ground shook. Humans screamed. Cars stopped. Some people ran away. But some ran toward the danger. Why are they going closer? The officer asked, confused. The probe zoomed in. A human man pulled another injured human from the ground. A woman carried a child and helped others move. They are helping each other, someone said. Ralvek watched carefully. Even in fear, they did not stop. Focus on individuals, he ordered. The probe locked onto one human. A young male. He was bleeding from his arm. His face showed pain. But he stood up, slowly. He looked around. Then he moved again, helping someone else. He is injured, the officer said. Yes, Ralvek replied, but he continues. Another human appeared on the screen. This one was smaller, a child, crying, alone. The same injured man walked toward the child, picked him up, and carried him away from danger. The room went silent again. They protect the weak, a crew member whispered. Even when they are weak themselves, another added. Ralvek did not speak. He was thinking, watching, learning. Scan their biology, he said. The AI responded quickly. Humans have no natural armor, no claws, no advanced physical traits. Then how do they survive? Someone asked. The AI paused. Unknown factor detected. Ralvek narrowed his eyes. Explain. High adaptability. Strong emotional response. Unpredictable behavior. Ralvek repeated slowly. Unpredictable. The probe moved again. Now it showed a different place. A quiet area. No fire. No explosions. Humans were sitting together, talking, eating, laughing. They returned to normal so fast, the officer said. Ralvek noticed something else. Zoom in on their faces. The screen focused. The humans were smiling, even after everything. They forget quickly, one crew member said. No, Ralvek said softly. They moved forward. Another signal came in. Commander, the officer said suddenly. We are being detected. Ralvek turned sharply. By who? The humans. How? They are scanning the sky. Their systems picked up our probe. The room filled with tension. Can they reach us? Someone asked. The officer checked quickly. Not yet, but they are trying. Ralvek looked at the screen again. The humans were pointing upward now. Machines were being prepared. Weapons. They respond fast, he said. Yes, the officer replied. Very fast. The AI spoke again. Threat level rising. Ralvek's voice became calm again. Recall the probe. The small machine turned and shot back into the sky. Behind it, the human world continued. Fire in one place, peace in another, fear and courage together. As the probe returned to the ship, the command room stayed quiet. No one could fully understand what they had seen. Finally, one crew member spoke. Commander, what are humans? Ralvek looked at the planet one more time. His eyes were no longer calm. Now they held something new. Concern. This is not just a species, he said slowly. This is something else. He paused, then added, a species that fights itself, protects itself, and survives everything. The room stayed silent. Ralvek's voice dropped lower. If they ever stopped fighting each other, he did not finish the sentence. He didn't need to, because everyone understood. He turned away from the screen. Prepare for next phase. The officer nodded. What is the next step, Commander? Ralvek looked back once more at Earth. His answer was short, but heavy. We watch. Far below, humans continue their lives. Unaware, uncontrolled, and evolving. The ship Virex 9 stayed silent above Earth. Inside the command room, the mood had changed. Before, there was curiosity. Now there was caution. Commander Ralvek stood alone near the main screen. The planet turned slowly in front of him, calm from far away. But he knew the truth now. It was not calm. It was never calm. Commander, the AI said softly, the probe has returned. Show me everything, Ralvek replied. The screens lit up again. Hours of data. Videos. Sounds. Movements. Human life in many places. Some peaceful, some violent. All active. The officer began to explain. We have collected full biological and behavioral data. Ralvek nodded. Start with their physical strength. The AI responded. Humans are below average in strength compared to most known species. A few crew members looked surprised. Below average, one asked. Then how do they survive this planet? Ralvek did not speak. He waited. Continue, he said. Humans have no natural weapons. No claws, no protective skin. Their bodies are fragile. That makes no sense, the officer said. We saw them survive explosions. Yes, Ralvek said quietly. So there must be something else. The AI paused, then said, analyzing non-physical traits. The room became still. New data appeared. Brain activity, emotional patterns, decision-making behavior. Then the AI spoke again. Humans show extreme emotional range. Explain, Ralvek said. They feel fear but still act. A video played. A human stood in front of danger, his body shaking, his face pale. But he did not run. He moved forward. "He is afraid," the officer said. "Yes," Ralvek replied. But he does not stop. Another clip played. A group of humans running into a burning building. Smoke everywhere. Fire rising. "Why are they doing this?" someone asked. "To save others," the AI answered. The crew fell silent again. "They choose danger," one whispered. "No," Ralvek said slowly. "They choose each other." More data came in. More examples. Humans helping strangers. Fighting for survival. Standing up after failure. "They fall and then rise again," the officer said. Ralvek crosses arms. "This is not normal behavior." The AI agreed. "Humans have high recovery rate after trauma, mental and physical." "Meaning?" the officer asked. "They do not stop easily." Ralvek looked back at Earth. That was true. He had seen it. Explosions and then rebuilding. Loss and then moving forward. "This planet creates pressure," he said. "And they survive it." The AI added something new. "Commander, there's another factor." Ralvek turned. "What is it?" A new screen appeared. It showed human history. War after war. Disaster after disaster. Yet the population kept growing. "They learn from conflict," the AI said. Ralvek's eyes narrowed. "Show me proof." The AI displayed 2 clips. The first showed an older human weapon. Slow. Limited. The second showed a newer one. Faster. Stronger. More precise. "They improve," the officer said. "Very fast." The AI added. Ralvek felt something change inside him. "Speed of learning?" he asked. "Extremely high." "And they share knowledge?" "Yes." The room became tense. "That means," a crew member said slowly, "they grow stronger together." Ralvek nodded. Even while divided, that was the dangerous part. Even when humans fought each other, they still improved as a species. "They turn weakness into strength," the officer said. "Yes," Ralvek replied, "and pain into progress." Another alert appeared. "Commander," the officer said. "New human activity detected." "Show it." The screen zoomed to a remote area. A test site. Open land. Machines were placed in position. Humans stood far away, watching. "What are they doing?" someone asked. The AI analyzed quickly. Weapon test detected. Ralvek leaned forward. "Type." The AI paused for a moment. Then, "high-energy explosive device." Before anyone could speak, a bright flash. Then, boom. The explosion was massive. Bigger than anything they had seen before. A rising cloud. Fire expanding in all directions. The shock wave moved across the land. Even from orbit, it was clear. The room went completely silent. "That power," a crew member whispered. "They created that?" another said. Ralvek did not move. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen. "Yes," he said, "they created it." The AI added one more detail. "Purpose," testing their own limits. Ralvek slowly stepped back. They pushed themselves even further. The officer looked worried now. "Commander, if they keep growing like this..." She did not finish. Ralvek understood. He turned away from the screen. His voice was low. "Serious. This species is not dangerous because of what they are." He paused, then said, "They are dangerous because of what they can become." No one spoke. No one moved. Because now, they were not just observing a strange planet. They were watching something else. Something rising. Ralvek looked at Earth one more time. Fire, water, life, chaos, all in one place. He spoke again quietly. "If they ever unite." This time he stopped himself. But the thought was clear, and it was enough to create fear. Far below, humans continued their journey. Still fighting, still learning, still changing. And above them, someone was finally starting to understand. The ship Virex, 9 remained in orbit above Earth. But now, everything had changed. The humans were no longer unaware. They were watching the sky. Inside the command room, the air felt heavy. Commander Ralvek stood still, thinking deeply. He had seen enough. This planet was not weak. This species was not simple. Commander, the officer said carefully, human detection systems are increasing. Ralvek turned. How close are they to finding us? Closer than expected. The room grew tense. They're scanning space with stronger signals now, she continued. They are searching. Ralvek looked at the screen. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew the truth. They learn fast, he said. Yes, the officer replied. Very fast. Ralvek made a decision. Prepare transmission. The crew looked at him in surprise. You want to contact them? One asked. Yes, Ralvek said. We cannot observe forever. But, Commander, another said, they are aggressive. Ralvek's voice stayed calm. They are defensive. There was a difference, and he understood it now. Send a simple message, he ordered. No threat. No complex signals. What should it say? The officer asked. Ralvek thought for a moment, then spoke. We come in peace. The transmission system activated. A signal moved from the ship down to Earth, across the sky, through clouds, into human systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Commander, the officer said, humans have received the signal. Response. They are reacting. Show me. The screen changed quickly. Human control centers appeared. Rooms filled with people. Screens. Lights. Movement. They are confused, the officer said. Yes, Ralvek replied. Wait. More data came in. They are not just confused, she added. They are preparing. Ralvek frowned. Preparing for what? Before she could answer, new alerts filled the room. Multiple aircraft launching, a crew member shouted. From where? Different locations. All over the planet. The screen showed it clearly now. Fast human machines. Jets rising into the sky. Armed. Focused. Moving fast. They think we are a threat, the officer said. Ralvek watched carefully. No, he said slowly. They are not waiting to find out. More updates came in. Missile systems activated. Defense networks online. Targeting unknown object in orbit. That unknown object was them. The tension inside Virex. 9 rose instantly. Commander, they are locking onto us, someone shouted. Ralvek remained calm. Shields ready. Yes, Commander. Below them, Earth moved fast. Humans did not wait. They acted. Within minutes, the first missiles launched. Long trails of fire cut through the sky as they moved upward. Fast. Direct. They are attacking, the officer said. Ralvek's voice stayed cold. Impact in 5 seconds, the AI announced. The crew held their breath. Then, boom, the missiles hit the ship's shields. A bright flash filled the screen. The ship shook slightly. Not damaged, but touched. They reached us, a crew member whispered. Ralvek looked at the impact data. Primitive weapons, he said, but effective. More missiles followed. More impacts. They are not stopping, the officer said. Of course not, Ralvek replied. This is how they survive. The AI gave an update. Shield stable. No major damage. But that was not the point. The point was humans had responded. Fast. Strong. Without fear. They attack before they understand, one crew member said. No, Ralvek corrected. They attack because they do not trust. That was something new, something important. The humans were not just fighters. They were protectors. Aggressive protectors. Commander, the officer said, should we respond? The question filled the room. Weapons were ready. One command. And Earth could be damaged. Ralvek looked at the planet again. Fire still burned in some places. Life still moved in others. They fight each other, he said quietly. But when something unknown appears, he paused. They stand together. The officer understood. They're uniting against us. Yes, that was the real danger. Not their weapons, not their technology, but their ability to come together. Fast, strong, without warning. Another missile wave approached. Commander, Ralvek raised his hand. Hold position. What? A crew member said in shock. We are not fighting back. No. The ship took another hit. The room shook slightly again. But Ralvek did not move. "We will not attack them," he said. "They are testing us." The officer looked confused. "Testing?" "Yes," Ralvek replied. "They want to see how we respond." "And if we attack?" Ralvek's voice became darker. "Then we prove their fear is correct." Silence filled the room. Another alert came in. "Commander, human transmissions are increasing." "What are they saying?" The AI translated quickly. "Unknown object, possible threat, defend Earth, repeat, defend Earth." Ralvek listened carefully. There was fear in their voices, but also something else. Determination. "They are ready to fight," the officer said. "Yes," Ralvek replied, "even against something they do not understand." That was the moment he realized this was not a normal species. This was something else. Something dangerous. Not because of power, but because of will. Ralvek stepped forward, his eyes fixed on Earth. "This is not first contact," he said slowly. "This is a test." The officer asked quietly, "A test of what?" Ralvek answered, "Of who they are and who we are." Another explosion hit the shields. But this time, no one reacted, because now they understood. The humans had made their choice. And soon, Ralvek would have to make his. Far below, Earth continued to prepare for war, unaware of how close it was to something much bigger. The attacks from Earth did not stop. Missiles kept rising into the sky. Explosions kept hitting the shields of Virex 9. Inside the command room, the crew stayed alert, but something had changed. They were no longer shocked. Now they were thinking. Commander Ralvek stood quietly, watching every movement on the screen. His eyes were calm, but his mind was not. "Commander," the officer said, "human attack patterns are changing." Ralvek turned slightly. "Explain." "They are adjusting their aim. Their accuracy is improving." Another explosion hit the shield. Stronger this time. "They are learning from each strike," she added. Ralvek gave a slow nod. "Of course they are." The AI confirmed it. "Human systems are adapting in real time." A crew member spoke, his voice uneasy. "They are improving while fighting us." "Yes," Ralvek replied. "That is what makes them different." He walked closer to the main screen. Below, Earth looked alive with movement. Not just chaos, not just war, but effort. Humans were not attacking blindly anymore. They were studying, learning, changing. "Show global data," Ralvek ordered. The screen split into many sections, different parts of Earth, different situations. In one place, humans were launching attacks. In another, they were building defenses. In another, they were watching, waiting. "They are not united," the officer said. "No," Ralvek replied, "but they are connected." That was the difference. Even without unity, they shared information, fast. Every mistake became a lesson. Every failure became a step forward. "They are turning this into an advantage," a crew member said. Ralvek looked at him. "Yes, that is their true strength." The AI added more data. "Human communication networks are active across the planet." "Meaning?" the officer asked. "They are sharing everything. Every attack, every response." Ralvek felt a deeper understanding begin to form. "They fight each other," he said slowly. "But when something bigger appears, they work together," the officer finished. Ralvek nodded. "Not perfectly, not peacefully, but effectively." Another alert came in. "Commander," the officer said. "New human weapon detected." "Show me." The screen zoomed to a launch site, different from before, larger, more controlled. Humans stood at a distance, watching, waiting. "What is this?" a crew member asked. The AI analyzed quickly. Then, high-yield weapon, experimental. Ralvek's expression changed slightly. Impact prediction? Significant. Before anyone could react, the weapon launched. It moved faster than the others. More stable, more direct. "Impact in 3 seconds," the AI said. The room went silent. Then, boom, the explosion hit the shields. This time, The ship shook harder. Lights flickered for a moment. Shields at 92%. The AI reported. A crew member stepped back. That actually did damage. Ralvek stayed still, watching the data. They improved again, he said. Yes, the officer replied, faster than expected. Ralvek took a slow breath. This is the truth, he said quietly. The room listened. Humans do not win because they are strong. He looked at the screen again. They win because they do not stop. Silence. The weight of his words filled the room. The AI displayed more historical data. Human past. Wars. Losses. Failures. But also growth. Recovery. Progress. They have faced extinction events before, the AI said, and survived. Ralvek nodded. They have already passed tests that destroy other species. The officer looked concerned. Commander, if they keep improving at this rate, they will reach us. Ralvek finished. That thought changed everything. For the first time, the crew was not just observing. They were worried. Should we leave? One of them asked quietly. Ralvek did not answer immediately. Instead, he asked, what happens if we stay? The AI responded. Probability of human technological growth, high. Probability of future threat, increasing. Ralvek turned away from the screen. His voice was calm again, but not immediate. The officer understood. They are not ready yet. No, Ralvek said, but they are becoming ready. That was the real danger. Not what humans were now, but what they could become. Another message came in from Earth. Commander, human communication detected again. What are they saying? The AI translated. Unknown object still in orbit. Continue to fence, protect Earth at all costs. Ralvek listened carefully. There was again that same idea. Protect, no matter what. They are not attacking for power, he said. They are attacking for survival. The officer nodded slowly. And that makes them more dangerous. Yes, because a species that fights to survive never truly gives up. Ralvek stepped forward again. He looked at Earth one last time, not as a target, not as a mystery, but as something else. A warning, he whispered. The officer looked at him. A warning. Ralvek spoke clearly now. This planet is not broken. It is designed. The crew looked confused. Designed? Someone asked. Yes, Ralvek said. Not by creators, but by nature itself. He pointed at the screen. High danger, high pressure, constant conflict. And from that, he paused. Something stronger is created. The room stayed silent, because now they understood. Earth was not just a planet. It was a system that forced growth, forced survival, forced strength, and humans were its result. Ralvek's voice dropped one last time. If they leave this planet. He stopped, but the thought was clear, and it was terrifying. The officer spoke softly. Then they won't just survive out there. Ralvek finished the sentence. They will dominate. Silence. Heavy. Final. The attacks from Earth slowed slightly. But the tension did not, because now the real question was not about humans. It was about the future, and whether anyone could stop what was coming. The attacks from Earth slowly began to stop, not because humans gave up, but because they were watching, waiting, learning. High above them, the ship Virex. 9 remained in orbit, silent and still. Its shields were active, but no longer under heavy fire. Inside the command room, no one spoke. The energy had changed again. This was no longer fear. This was something deeper. Understanding. Commander Ralvek stood at the center, looking at the planet one last time. The blue world turned slowly, peaceful from far away, but full of struggle below. Commander, the officer said softly, human attacks have decreased. Ralvek nodded. They are thinking now. Yes, she replied. Their patterns show hesitation, but not weakness. Ralvek agreed. Humans do not stay afraid for long. That was clear now. Fear was not something that stopped them. It pushed them, made them act faster, learn faster, grow stronger. Commander, another crew member said, we are receiving a new signal. Ralvek turned. From Earth? Yes. Play it. The room became quiet as the signal was translated. A human voice filled the air. Calm, serious, but strong. Unknown object in orbit, we do not know your purpose, but we will defend our planet. The voice paused, then continued. If you come in peace, do not hide. Silence followed. The message ended. No threat, no panic, just a clear statement. Ralvek listened carefully. They are ready to fight, he said, but they are also ready to understand. The officer nodded. They are giving us a choice. Yes, Ralvek said, and watching what we do. That was the final test, not of human strength, but of alien intent. Ralvek walked slowly toward the main console. What will you do, Commander? The officer asked. The entire crew waited. This decision would not just affect them. It would affect the future. Ralvek looked at the data one last time. Human history, war, survival, growth. Every detail led to the same truth. They are not ready to be controlled, he said, and they never will be. He paused. They're not a species that follows. They're a species that rises. The officer spoke carefully. Then do we leave? Ralvek did not answer immediately. Instead, he asked the AI, what is the long-term prediction? The AI responded, if humans continue current growth. A pause. Then they will reach space beyond their planet. Another pause. They will expand. Ralvek closed his eyes for a moment, and after that, the AI answered without delay. They will encounter other species. The room became still, and the result? Ralvek asked. The AI's voice stayed calm. Unknown. That word carried weight. Unknown, because humans were not predictable. They could be kind. They could be violent. They could be both at the same time. Ralvek opened his eyes again. They are not a threat today, he said. But one day, he looked at Earth. They might be. The officer stepped forward. Then shouldn't we stop them now? That question changed the room. Some crew members agreed. It was logical. Eliminate the risk early, before it grows. Ralvek stayed silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. No. The word was simple, but powerful. The officer looked surprised. No. Ralvek turned toward them. If we attack now, we prove their fears. And if we destroy them, he paused, we destroy something rare. The crew listened closely. A species that survives anything. A species that grows through pain. A species that protects its home no matter the cost. He looked back at the screen. That is not something to destroy. That is something to respect. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it felt different. Not fear, not confusion. Respect. Ralvek stepped to the console. Prepare a final transmission. The officer nodded. What will you say? Ralvek thought for a moment, then spoke clearly. We understand now. The message was sent. It traveled down to Earth, across the sky, into human systems. No weapons followed. No attacks. Only silence. Moments passed. Then a response came back. The same human voice. Then leave in peace. Ralvek allowed a small pause, then gave his final order. Set course away from the system. The crew moved quickly. The ship began to turn. Slowly, carefully. Earth grew smaller on the screen, but it did not feel small. Not anymore. As the ship moved away, the officer looked at Ralvek. Commander, what will you report to the Alliance? Ralvek watched the planet one last time. His answer was calm, but heavy with meaning. I will tell them the truth. And that is, she asked. Ralvek spoke slowly. This planet is not weak. It is not broken. It is not simple. He paused, then said the words that would echo far beyond this moment. This planet is a warning. The officer felt a chill. A warning of what? Ralvek's eyes stayed on Earth. A warning of what happens when a species refuses to die. Silence. Deep. Final. The ship entered faster speed. Stars stretched into lines. And Earth disappeared into distance. But the story was not over, because far below, humans continued, still building, still fighting, still learning, unaware of how close they had come to something watching them, something judging them, something that chose to leave. And somewhere in the future, when humans finally reach the stars, they would not be weak. They would not be afraid. They would be ready. And the galaxy would remember this moment. The moment someone looked at Earth